Welcome to this journey through time, mystery, and forgotten civilizations. For the next 3 hours, we will explore some of the most fascinating archaeological enigmas ever discovered: ancient structures, undeciphered writings, and artifacts that defy explanation. These mysteries remain unsolved despite decades and sometimes centuries of research. They invite us to imagine lost knowledge, hidden meanings, and connections between humanity and the unknown. So, relax, lie down comfortably, and let your mind drift as we wander through deserts, jungles, and oceans, uncovering secrets buried deep in history. You don't need to solve anything tonight. Just listen, breathe slowly, and let these ancient riddles guide you into sleep. In the endless desert of southern Peru, stretching across a plateau so dry that rainfall is almost non-existent, lies one of the most mysterious creations ever left behind by humanity. This place is home to the Nazca Lines, a vast network of enormous geoglyphs etched into the desert floor. From the ground, these lines appear almost meaningless, simple grooves in the reddish-brown soil. But when seen from above, from the perspective of a bird or an airplane, they reveal astonishing shapes: animals, plants, geometric patterns, and straight lines that stretch for kilometers across the barren land. The Nazca Lines were first brought to the world's attention in the 20th century, though locals had known of them for centuries. When airplanes began flying over the region in the 1920s, pilots were astonished to see giant figures spread across the desert like an enormous canvas. A monkey with a curling tail, a spider with delicate legs, a hummingbird with wings outstretched, and dozens of other shapes revealed themselves to the human eye. It was as if an ancient civilization had carved drawings on a scale so massive that only the gods themselves could fully appreciate them. Archaeologists soon realized that these designs were not simple accidents of erosion or natural patterns. They were intentional, carefully crafted geoglyphs, created by removing the reddish pebbles of the desert surface to expose the lighter sand beneath. In doing so, the ancient Nazca people created images that have lasted for over 1,500 years. The desert's extreme dryness, lack of wind, and stable climate preserved them, turning the region into a vast, open-air gallery of prehistoric art. But what is most fascinating about the Nazca Lines is not their durability or their beauty, it is the mystery of their purpose. Why did the Nazca people who lived between 200 BCE and 600 CE devote so much energy to creating designs that can only be fully seen from above when they themselves had no way to fly? The question has puzzled scholars, scientists, and dreamers for decades, and even today, no answer satisfies everyone. Some believe the lines had religious meaning, perhaps intended as offerings to the gods of the sky. The Nazca depended heavily on agriculture in one of the driest regions of the world. Water was scarce, and survival depended on rain that might or might not fall. Perhaps the lines were a form of communication, prayers carved into the earth itself, directed toward divine beings who could grant water from above. The hummingbird, the monkey, and the spider may have represented sacred animals linked to fertility, rain, and life itself. Others suggest that the lines may have been an astronomical calendar. Straight lines often align with the solstices, equinoxes, and movements of the sun and stars. In this view, the desert was transformed into a vast observatory. Priests could walk the lines and use them to predict the seasons, guiding planting and harvesting in a land where the timing of water was everything. Still others imagine the lines as ceremonial pathways. Walking along them, participants in ancient rituals might have experienced a connection between the earth beneath their feet and the heavens above. From the ground, the lines are not invisible. They are clear paths, stretching endlessly in straight directions, inviting people to follow them like roads leading into the unknown. Of course, some theories reach far beyond the ordinary. Since the figures can be fully appreciated only from the sky, some have suggested that they were messages or markers for visitors from beyond the Earth, signals for ancient astronauts, or landing strips for otherworldly craft. While most archaeologists reject these ideas, the allure of such possibilities remains strong in the human imagination. After all, the sheer scale of the drawings and the mystery of their purpose invite us to dream of explanations that go beyond the limits of history. Among the geoglyphs, some of the most famous include the monkey, drawn with a spiraling tail that curves like a labyrinth, the spider, stretched delicately across the desert with 8 legs reaching out symmetrically, and the hummingbird, perhaps the most graceful of them all, with wings so finely balanced that one can almost imagine it hovering above the dry earth. There are also less recognized figures: a whale, a lizard, a parrot, even a strange humanoid figure known as the astronaut, with large eyes and a raised hand, staring out across the desert as if greeting someone unseen. The sheer labor involved in creating the lines is itself remarkable. Without modern tools, the Nazca people managed to design figures up to 300 meters long. Some lines stretch for kilometers, remaining perfectly straight despite the uneven terrain. This required planning, coordination, and a level of mathematical knowledge that still surprises researchers. It shows us that ancient civilizations, often underestimated, possessed incredible skill and vision. Yet despite decades of study, the Nazca Lines resist full understanding. Some patterns appear purely geometric: triangles, trapezoids, spirals, while others resemble animals and plants that may not have even existed in the region. The purpose behind this combination is unknown. Were they symbolic, practical, or something else entirely? Every theory opens the door to more questions. Standing in the desert, surrounded by silence, the mystery becomes even stronger. Imagine yourself there, endless flat land stretching to the horizon, a hot wind whispering, the sun painting the sand in gold and red. Beneath your feet, you see shallow grooves forming paths in directions that seem random. You walk along them, feeling that you are part of something larger, something ancient. You cannot see the whole picture, but you know it exists, hidden in the scale of the earth itself. Perhaps that is the lesson of the Nazca Lines, that some truths are too vast to grasp from a single perspective. When scientists fly drones or planes above the plateau today, they continue to discover new lines. Even now, more than 1,000 geoglyphs are known, and more are being revealed. Each discovery adds to the mystery rather than solving it. The desert keeps its secrets, and we can only wonder about the people who once carved their visions into the earth. With such patience and devotion, were they sending messages to the gods, marking the cycles of the cosmos, telling stories that we can no longer understand? Or were they perhaps creating art for art's sake, expressing their humanity in the most grand and permanent way possible? Whatever the answer, the Nazca Lines remain one of the greatest unsolved puzzles of archaeology. As you listen to this story, let your mind drift across the desert. Imagine the quiet night sky, the stars shining above the plateau, the outlines of animals and shapes hidden in the sand below. Feel the vastness of time, the patience of those who created the lines, and the deep mystery that connects us to them. You do not need to find the solution. The wonder lies in the mystery itself. And so, the Nazca Lines remain silent, eternal, and unexplained. A reminder that even in our modern world of technology and knowledge, there are still secrets etched into the earth, waiting to be admired, contemplated, and dreamed about. Far in the southeastern region of Turkey, hidden for thousands of years beneath a man-made hill of soil and stone, lies a site that has forced archaeologists to rethink everything they believed about the origins of human civilization. This place is called Göbekli Tepe, which means Potbelly Hill, and it is often described as the world's first known temple. Its age is astonishing. Built around 11,500 years ago, more than 6,000 years before Stonehenge and the pyramids of Egypt. To walk among its massive stone pillars is to step into a time so distant that it almost feels beyond imagination. The story of Göbekli Tepe begins not with its builders, but with its rediscovery. For centuries, the mound that concealed it looked like any other rise in the Anatolian landscape. Shepherds grazed their animals there, unaware of what lay below. In the 1960s, archaeologists briefly surveyed the hill and assumed it was nothing more than an abandoned medieval cemetery. It was not until the 1990s that Klaus Schmidt, a German archaeologist, began excavations and realized the site was something extraordinary. What emerged from the soil stunned the world. Circles of enormous stone pillars, each weighing up to 20 tons, some carved with images of animals, abstract symbols, and human-like figures. These circles, sometimes called enclosures, seem to have been gathering places for rituals or ceremonies. The stones were arranged in rings, with two even larger pillars standing at the center like guardians or deities. Many of the carvings depict powerful animals: lions, snakes, boars, vultures, scorpions, creatures that would have inspired awe and fear in the people of that time. The artistry is striking, not crude, showing skill and intention. Some stones bear abstract shapes that may represent symbols or proto-writing. Though no one can be certain, the age of Göbekli Tepe makes it particularly mysterious. It was built before the development of pottery, before the invention of writing, and even before agriculture was fully established. The people who created it were hunter-gatherers, living in small bands, moving with the seasons. For decades, archaeologists believed that temples and monumental architecture only emerged after farming allowed people to settle permanently and form complex societies. But Göbekli Tepe reverses that idea. Here, it seems that people came together to build a vast sacred site first, and only afterward did farming and village life take root. In other words, religion and ritual may have been the spark that led to civilization itself. How did hunter-gatherers move and raise such massive stones without metal tools or wheels? The question remains unanswered. Some theories suggest that hundreds of people worked together, using ropes, wooden sledges, and sheer human determination. Others wonder if the organization required hints at an early form of social hierarchy or priesthood. Whatever the case, the construction of Göbekli Tepe demanded a level of planning and cooperation far beyond what was once thought possible for that era. Equally puzzling is the decision to deliberately bury the site. After centuries of use, the enclosures were filled in with rubble and sand, as if the builders wanted to preserve them or hide them forever. Because of this, the carvings and structures remained astonishingly well preserved for millennia. The reason for this burial is still a matter of speculation. Was it an act of reverence, a way to close a sacred chapter, or was it fear, an attempt to conceal something powerful or dangerous? We may never know. The purpose of Göbekli Tepe is perhaps the greatest mystery of all. Some scholars argue it was a sanctuary, a place where different groups came together to perform rituals, strengthening bonds among scattered tribes. Others think it was a site of ancestor worship, the stones representing powerful spirits or gods. The central pillars, with their carved arms and hands, may even symbolize stylized human figures, perhaps gods, perhaps mythical ancestors, perhaps something entirely beyond our understanding. There are also more imaginative theories. Some suggest Göbekli Tepe was an ancient observatory, its circles aligned with stars and celestial events. Others claim it encoded stories of creation, death, and the afterlife. And, as with many ancient mysteries, some voices whisper of lost knowledge, forgotten civilizations, or even influences from beyond the earth, while mainstream archaeology holds more grounded views. The strangeness of the site leaves space for wonder. To walk among the excavated enclosures today is to feel both awe and humility. The stones rise out of the earth like silent witnesses to a forgotten age. Each carving seems to speak a language we can no longer read. The vultures, for instance, may reflect beliefs about death, as vultures were known to strip flesh from bones, leaving only skeletons, a possible symbol of the soul's release. The snakes may have symbolized danger, transformation, or the underworld. The lions and boars, raw, strength, and survival. Together, the imagery suggests a world where the line between humans, animals, and gods was thin, blurred, and mysterious. One of the most haunting aspects of Göbekli Tepe is its loneliness. Unlike later temples, it shows no signs of being surrounded by villages or permanent settlements. There are no houses, no fields, no cemeteries directly nearby. It seems people traveled long distances to gather there, performing ceremonies and then dispersing back to their lives. This idea strengthens the belief that ritual, not farming, was the first glue of society. People may have built this temple not because they had the resources to do so, but because the desire to connect with the sacred pushed them to cooperate in unprecedented ways. As you imagine Göbekli Tepe, picture the Anatolian landscape thousands of years ago. The stars overhead burned brighter than we can see today. Fires flickered in the darkness as groups of people gathered around, their chants echoing against the stone pillars. The images of animals glowed in the torchlight, shadows dancing across the carvings. The air was filled with the sounds of drums, voices, and silence between. These ceremonies may have been moments of unity, where human beings felt themselves part of a larger cosmos, connected by stone, by sky, and by mystery. Today, only a fraction of the site has been uncovered. Archaeologists estimate that as much as 90% of Göbekli Tepe still lies buried beneath the hill. Each season of excavation reveals more structures, more carvings, more questions. The deeper researchers dig, the deeper the mystery becomes. With every discovery, the story of human origins grows more complex, more wondrous, and less certain. Göbekli Tepe reminds us that the human drive for meaning is ancient, older even than the seeds of wheat or the bricks of the first villages, long before cities, long before kings, long before writing. People stood in a circle of stone and lifted their eyes to the heavens, asking questions we still ask today. Who are we? Where do we come from? What lies beyond death? As you drift deeper into rest, let your thoughts wander to that distant hill in Turkey. Imagine the stones rising out of the soil, silent and eternal. Picture the hands that carved them, hands now dust, yet whose work endures. Feel the passage of 11,000 years, like a gentle wind, carrying voices you cannot understand, but can almost hear. You do not need to solve the mystery tonight. It is enough to let it surround you, a puzzle of stone and silence, connecting you to the first stirrings of civilization itself. And so, Göbekli Tepe stands, half uncovered, half concealed, its meaning hidden in time, a temple without walls, a story without words, a mystery without end. In the year 1901, a group of sponge divers set out into the clear waters near the Greek island of Antikythera. They were searching for sea sponges, but what they found instead was a shipwreck that would forever change our understanding of the ancient world. Resting on the seafloor, buried under centuries of sediment and coral, were statues, jewelry, pottery, and the remains of a cargo ship that had sunk over 2,000 years ago. Among these treasures, covered in rust and encrusted with barnacles, was a strange lump of bronze and wood that at first appeared to be nothing more than debris. Yet hidden within it was one of the greatest mysteries of archaeology, a device that would come to be known as the Antikythera Mechanism. When scholars began to study this corroded object, they slowly realized it was not a simple fragment of metal. Beneath the crust, there were gears, dozens of them, intricately arranged, with teeth so small and precise that they could only have been cut by expert craftsmen. As the layers were examined, it became clear that the device was far more advanced than anyone thought possible for its time. Built around 100 BCE, it is now considered the world's first known analog computer, designed to calculate the movements of the heavens. Imagine a wooden box about the size of a shoebox, with bronze dials on the outside and a complex system of gears inside. When the handle was turned, the gears rotated in perfect harmony, displaying the positions of the sun, the moon, and even the planets. It could predict eclipses, track the cycles of the zodiac, and model the intricate dance of celestial bodies. In essence, the Antikythera Mechanism allowed its user to hold the universe in their hands. The precision of the device is astonishing. Its builders understood not only that the moon moves in an irregular orbit, but also how to represent this irregularity mechanically. The mechanism used a system of gears that mimicked the moon's elliptical path, something that modern engineers admire even today. The fact that such knowledge existed in the ancient Greek world challenges our assumptions about the development of science and technology, and yet the Antikythera Mechanism is also a riddle. Who built it? How was it used? And why have no other devices like it been found? The ancient Greeks certainly possessed brilliant minds. Figures like Archimedes and Hipparchus advanced mathematics and astronomy to remarkable heights. Some believe the mechanism may have been based on their work, or even designed by them, but the complexity of the gears suggests a long tradition of craftsmanship, which leaves us wondering, if this was only one example, where are the others? Were they lost to time, destroyed in wars, or simply yet to be discovered? For decades, the mechanism puzzled researchers. It was only with the invention of advanced imaging techniques, like X-ray tomography, that scholars were able to peer inside without damaging it. These scans revealed the hidden gears and inscriptions that described its functions. The more scientists studied, the more extraordinary the device became. Not only did it show the cycles of the moon, but it could also predict lunar and solar eclipses, track the timing of the ancient Olympic Games, and perhaps even model the motions of Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, the 5 planets known to the Greeks. To think of such a machine existing more than 2,000 years ago is breathtaking. In the Middle Ages, no clockmakers in Europe could have produced such a device. The technology seemed to vanish from history, only reappearing more than 1,000 years later in the form of medieval astronomical clocks. How could something so advanced emerge, disappear, and then resurface centuries later? This gap is one of the greatest mysteries surrounding the Antikythera Mechanism. Some suggest that the knowledge to build such devices was rare, passed down among a small group of skilled artisans, and lost when their world collapsed. Others wonder if many mechanisms once existed but were melted down for their valuable bronze, leaving only this one survivor at the bottom of the sea. The idea that there could have been an entire tradition of advanced mechanical astronomy, now vanished, is both haunting and fascinating. The Antikythera Mechanism also raises questions about the very nature of progress. We often think of history as a straight line, moving from primitive tools to modern technology. But the mechanism reminds us that knowledge can leap ahead and then vanish, leaving us to rediscover it centuries later. It is a reminder that the past may have held wonders equal to, or even surpassing, our expectations. As you listen, imagine the ancient craftsmen who once assembled those tiny gears. Picture the sound of bronze being shaped, filed, and fitted into place, the patience required to align each tooth so that the device would turn smoothly. Then imagine the moment someone first held it, turning the handle, watching as the heavens moved across the dials, the future unfolding in their hands. To them, it must have felt like touching the secrets of the cosmos. What was the purpose of this machine? Some say it was a teaching tool used by scholars to explain the heavens to their students. Others believe it was a practical device, helping sailors navigate or priests determine the timing of rituals. Still others think it was an object of prestige, a marvel commissioned by a wealthy patron to display both knowledge and power. Whatever its function, it reflects a deep connection between humanity and the sky, a desire to understand the universe and our place within it. Today, the remains of the Antikythera Mechanism are preserved in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. Visitors can see its corroded fragments, silent yet powerful, a puzzle still not fully solved. Replicas have been built to show how it might have looked, and researchers continue to study every detail. But even with all our knowledge, there is something dreamlike about it, as if it belongs not just to history, but to myth. As you drift deeper into rest, let your thoughts wander to that shipwreck beneath the waves. Picture the divers stumbling upon the corroded lump of bronze, unaware that they held in their hands a time machine of the ancient world. Imagine the stars overhead, the same stars the device once tracked, shining across the centuries, and let yourself feel the quiet wonder of knowing that even long ago, humans reached for the universe with minds as curious as ours. The Antikythera Mechanism remains an unanswered question in the story of humanity, a machine out of time, a relic of genius, a whisper from a forgotten age of knowledge. Its gears no longer turn, yet its mystery continues to move us, reminding us that the past still holds secrets as vast as the sky. Far out in the Pacific Ocean, over 2,000 miles from the nearest continent, lies a small island of volcanic rock known as Rapa Nui, or Easter Island. Though tiny in size, it holds one of the greatest mysteries of archaeology, the Moai, massive stone statues that rise silently from the earth, their solemn faces staring across the island toward the horizon. For centuries, they have puzzled explorers, scholars, and dreamers alike. Who carved them? How were they moved? And what purpose did they serve? These questions remain unanswered, leaving the Moai as symbols of both human ingenuity and enduring mystery. The Moai are colossal figures, carved primarily from volcanic tuff, a soft stone found in the island's quarries. Some stand over 30 feet tall and weigh more than 80 tons. In total, nearly 900 statues are scattered across the island, some standing upright on stone platforms called hahu, others half buried in the earth, and still others abandoned in the quarries as if left unfinished. Each statue depicts a human figure with elongated ears, heavy brows, and a long nose. Their expressions are calm, yet stern, radiating an aura of timeless authority. When European explorers first arrived on Easter Sunday in 1722, they were astonished to see the statues. The people of Rapa Nui, descendants of Polynesian navigators, explained little about their origins. Oral traditions spoke of ancestors and chiefs, of gods and spirits, but no single story explained everything. Over time, archaeologists began to piece together fragments of the past, yet the full picture remains elusive. The construction of the Moai itself is remarkable. Using only stone tools, the Rapa Nui people carved the statues directly from the volcanic rock of Rano Rakua, the main quarry. They then transported these massive figures across miles of rugged terrain to their final locations. How they managed this feat is one of the great enigmas of archaeology. Some theories suggest wooden sledges and ropes with hundreds of people pulling the statues across the land. Others propose that the statues were walked upright, rocked from side to side with careful coordination, like giant puppets. Recent experiments have shown that such techniques might indeed have been possible, giving new life to the idea that the Moai walked across the island. But moving the statues was only part of the challenge. Once in place, they were erected on stone platforms, sometimes adorned with red stone crowns called pukao. These details required precision, strength, and organization, revealing a society capable of remarkable feats of engineering without the benefit of metal or wheels. The effort must have united the islanders in common purpose, reinforcing social and spiritual bonds. The purpose of the Moai is still debated. Most scholars believe they represented deified ancestors, carved to embody spiritual power known as mana. By raising the statues on Aha facing inland, the Rapa Nui ensured that their ancestors watched over the villages, protecting and blessing them. In this interpretation, the Moai were guardians, silent but powerful, connecting the living to the dead and to the divine. Yet some questions remain. Why were so many statues left unfinished in the quarry? Why do some remain buried up to their shoulders, as if swallowed by the earth? And why, in later centuries, were many statues toppled, their faces lying broken in the grass? These mysteries suggest that the story of the Moai is one of both creation and collapse, glory and tragedy. The history of Rapa Nui itself is marked by struggle. The island is small and isolated, with limited resources. As the population grew, deforestation and overuse of land may have led to scarcity, conflict, and decline. Some theories suggest that the obsession with building and moving Moai contributed to ecological collapse, as trees were cut for sledges and ropes. Others argue that the real destruction came later, with the arrival of European ships, diseases, slave raids, and outside exploitation. Whatever the truth, the people of Rapa Nui endured immense hardship, and the Moai remain as reminders of both their brilliance and their suffering. Standing among the Moai today, one feels a profound silence. The wind sweeps across the grasslands, the ocean roars against the cliffs, and the statues gaze endlessly toward the horizon. Their faces are weathered by centuries of sun, rain, and salt, yet they endure. Each one is unique, with subtle variations in features and size, suggesting that they may have represented specific individuals or clans. Together, they form a chorus of stone voices, a community of ancestors frozen in time. Imagine the island long ago, when the Moai were newly raised. Fires flickered in the villages, drums echoed through the night, and chants filled the air as people gathered to honor their ancestors. The statues towered above them, glowing in the firelight, embodiments of the spirits that guided and protected the community. To the people of Rapa Nui, the Moai were not just stone, they were alive with mana, radiating power and presence. As centuries passed, the meaning of the Moai may have shifted, their construction slowing, their guardianship fading. Some were toppled, perhaps during conflicts or as a rejection of old traditions. Yet others remained standing, enduring as testaments to faith, art, and identity. Even today, they are central to the cultural pride of Rapa Nui, symbols of resilience and continuity. The mystery of the Moai is not just about how they were built or moved, but about what they represent. They remind us of humanity's deep need to connect with the past, to honor ancestors, and to reach for something greater than ourselves. They show that even in isolation, with limited resources, people can create wonders that endure for millennia. As you drift into rest, picture the lonely island under the vast Pacific sky. Imagine the stars reflecting in the ocean, the silhouettes of Moai standing silent against a horizon. Feel the timeless presence of these guardians, their faces calm, their eyes unblinking, their mystery unsolved. You do not need to find the answers tonight. It is enough to rest in the wonder of knowing that across the ocean, on a small island of stone, humanity carved its devotion into figures that still stand, watching, waiting, remembering. The Moai of Easter Island remain among the world's most haunting mysteries, silent, immovable, and eternal, guardians of a people, witnesses of history, and symbols of a mystery that may never be fully explained. Deep within the Ural Mountains of Russia, in a region of lakes, forests, and endless stretches of wilderness, an extraordinary discovery was made in the late 19th century. In 1890, miners digging for gold in a peat bog unearthed fragments of carved wood. At first, they seemed ordinary, just broken pieces of larch, preserved in the wet soil. But when the fragments were carefully cleaned and assembled, they revealed something remarkable: a towering wooden statue covered in strange carvings and mysterious symbols. This creation, now known as the Shigir Idol, turned out to be over 12,000 years old, twice as old as the pyramids of Egypt, and older even than Stonehenge. The Shigir Idol is the oldest known wooden sculpture in the world, standing more than 5 meters tall when complete. It was an awe-inspiring figure, carved from the trunk of a single larch tree. Its body is covered with geometric patterns, zigzags, chevrons, and human-like faces stacked one above another. The meaning of these symbols remains unknown, but they seem deliberate, as if carrying a language or a message that we can no longer read. The sheer age of the idol is staggering. Created at the end of the last ice age, it belonged to a time when glaciers still lingered over much of Europe, when woolly mammoths roamed the plains, and when humans lived in small bands of hunters and gatherers. To think that people of this era carved such a complex and imposing monument challenges our ideas of prehistory. It shows that long before farming, cities, or writing, human beings were already expressing profound symbolic thought. What did the Shigir Idol represent? This is one of archaeology's great puzzles. Some scholars believe it was a totem, connected to spirits, gods, or ancestors. The faces carved along its length may have represented different deities or different aspects of a single being. The geometric patterns could symbolize natural forces, water, earth, sky, or perhaps mark a journey between worlds, a path from life to death. Others suggest the idol was a kind of storytelling device, recording myths, rules, or sacred knowledge in symbols we no longer understand. The peat bog, where the idol was preserved, gave it an almost miraculous longevity. Wood normally decays quickly, disappearing within centuries, but the bog's oxygen-free environment kept it intact for over 10,000 years. This preservation is what allows us to glimpse the artistry of a world otherwise lost to time. Without it, we might never have known that such monumental wooden sculptures ever existed. The carving of the idol must have required immense effort. Using only stone tools, ancient craftspeople patiently chipped and shaped the large trunk, smoothing its surface and etching its symbols with care. Each stroke was intentional, each pattern deliberate. The result was not crude, but refined, a work of art that reveals intelligence, patience, and a deep sense of meaning. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Shigir Idol is its abstract style. Unlike later statues that clearly depict human or animal forms, the idol is more symbolic. Its face is stylized, its patterns geometric. This suggests a way of thinking very different from ours, a world view where meaning was expressed not through realism, but through patterns that encoded ideas beyond the visible world. Some experts compare it to the later rock art of other prehistoric cultures, but the idol stands alone in its scale and complexity. Recent studies using advanced dating techniques shocked even archaeologists. For years, scholars believed the idol was around 9,000 years old, already ancient beyond measure. But newer tests pushed its age back to nearly 12,500 years. This places it at the dawn of the Holocene, when humans were just beginning to adapt to a warming world after the Ice Age. That such a sophisticated work of art existed at this time forces us to rethink the creativity and spirituality of early hunter-gatherers. Some have wondered whether the idol was linked to shamanic practices. The faces carved into its body may represent spirits encountered in trance, guardians of the natural world, or beings from other realms. The patterns might mark paths of transformation or visions seen in altered states of consciousness. In this interpretation, the idol was not just a statue, but a sacred map of existence, guiding people between the seen and unseen. Others suggest that the idol symbolized rules or taboos, a kind of moral code preserved in wood. The geometric designs could have carried meanings known only to its creators, perhaps warnings, perhaps teachings, perhaps the laws of the clan. If so, the idol would have been both a monument and a memory, ensuring that knowledge survived across generations. And yet, much remains a mystery. We cannot read the symbols, we cannot hear the stories, and we cannot step fully into the minds of those who carved it. The Shigir Idol is a voice from a world too distant to comprehend, speaking in a language that time has erased. It stands as both a gift and a riddle, proof of human creativity, but also a reminder of how much has been lost. Today, the surviving fragments of the idol are displayed in a museum in Yekaterinburg, Russia. Visitors can gaze upon its tall frame, reconstructed with care, its faces staring back with solemn expressions. To stand before it is to feel a deep connection across 12,000 years, to sense the presence of ancestors who lived in a world both harsh and sacred. The idol's mystery draws us in, inviting us to imagine what it meant, to dream of the myths and beliefs it once embodied. As you listen, picture the ancient forest of the Urals at the end of the Ice Age. Tall trees swayed in the wind, rivers carved paths through the land, and small bands of people gathered around fires for warmth. Somewhere in that landscape, a group of carvers chose a mighty tree and transformed it into a monument of meaning. Their chants and songs echoed as the faces emerged from the wood, layer upon layer, symbol upon symbol. When they raised the idol, it must have towered above them, a bridge between the earth beneath their feet and the sky above their heads. Let your mind drift with the mystery. Imagine the idol standing alone in the wilderness, its carvings glowing in the firelight, its presence both protective and unsettling. Feel the patience of the hands that shaped it, the devotion of the people who revered it, and the silence of the centuries that followed. The Shigir Idol remains one of archaeology's most haunting enigmas, a wooden giant from a forgotten world. It speaks without words, its message carried in symbols we cannot decode. Perhaps its true meaning was never meant for us, but only for those who carved it. Or perhaps, in its silence, it still whispers across the ages, reminding us that the human search for meaning is as old as time itself. On the edge of the Sahara Desert, just beyond the bustling city of Cairo, rise three colossal monuments that have captivated humanity for millennia. The Great Pyramids of Giza. These massive structures, built over 4,500 years ago, stand as the last surviving wonder of the ancient world. Towering above the desert sands, their scale and precision continue to astonish, leaving us to wonder how such vast constructions could have been raised by human hands in an age without machines, steel, or modern technology. The largest of them all, the Great Pyramid of Khufu, originally rose to a height of nearly 147 meters, its sides perfectly aligned to the cardinal directions. Built from more than 2 million limestone blocks, some weighing over 70 tons, it was an engineering achievement unlike anything the world had seen before. Even today, with cranes, lasers, and computers, such a project would be daunting. That it was accomplished by ancient Egyptians over 4 millennia ago is a testament to both their ingenuity and their determination. When we think of pyramids, we often imagine them as silent tombs built to honor mighty pharaohs. Yet the truth is more complex. The Great Pyramid was not just a burial place. It was a statement of cosmic order, a bridge between earth and sky, and a symbol of eternity itself. Its precise orientation reflects deep knowledge of astronomy, its proportions encoded with mathematical harmony, and its scale designed to awe both humans and gods. The construction methods of the pyramids remain one of archaeology's enduring mysteries. How did the Egyptians move blocks weighing many tons across miles of desert? How did they raise them into place, layer upon layer, to form structures so immense and precise? Some theories suggest vast ramps of mud brick and stone. Others propose ingenious systems of levers and counterweights. Experimental archaeologists have shown that teams of workers could move massive stones using wooden sledges on wet sand, reducing friction. Yet the exact combination of methods remains unknown, and the debate continues to this day. What we do know is that the builders were not slaves, as once thought, but skilled workers organized into teams. Archaeological evidence shows that they were fed, housed, and cared for, their labor seen as a sacred duty to the pharaoh and the gods. To them, building the pyramids was not just work, it was devotion, an act of faith carved into stone. Inside the Great Pyramid lie narrow passageways, hidden chambers, and shafts aligned with stars. The so-called King's Chamber, built of massive granite blocks, sits at the heart of the monument, its walls still echoing with mystery. Was it truly a tomb, or did it serve some deeper purpose? Some suggest it was a machine for resurrection, a structure designed to help the pharaoh's soul ascend to the heavens. Others see it as a cosmic temple, built to mirror the stars of Orion's belt and the eternal cycle of the cosmos. The pyramids have long inspired theories that reach beyond traditional archaeology. Some imagine lost civilizations, forgotten technologies, or even help from otherworldly visitors, while mainstream scholars point to the skill of ancient Egyptian engineers. The allure of these alternative ideas persists, fueled by the sheer scale and perfection of the pyramids. To stand before them is to feel that they are not just buildings, but enigmas, puzzles carved in stone. Over the centuries, the pyramids have endured as silent witnesses to history. Empires rose and fell, the desert winds blew, and yet the pyramids remained. Their smooth white limestone casing stones once gleamed in the sun, reflecting light so brightly that they could be seen for miles. Today, most of that casing has eroded or been removed, but the core structures still dominate the landscape, timeless and immovable. Imagine standing at the base of the Great Pyramid as the sun sets. The air is warm, the desert silent, except for the whisper of wind. The blocks rise above you in endless tiers, stretching toward the sky. Each stone is immense, yet together they form a perfect whole, as if the pyramid itself were a mountain shaped by human will. In the fading light, it glows with golden hues, a monument both earthly and divine. The mystery of the pyramids lies not only in how they were built, but in why. They embody the ancient Egyptian belief in eternity, in the continuation of life after death, in the divine order that links heaven and earth. For the builders, the pyramid was a stairway to the stars, a vessel for immortality and a reflection of the cosmos. To us, they remain symbols of humanity's greatest aspirations, the desire to transcend time, to leave a mark that endures beyond generations. As you drift deeper into rest, let your mind wander to the sands of Giza. Picture the pyramids rising against the night sky, the stars of Orion shining above, the Milky Way stretching like a river of light. Imagine the workers who once carried stones, their chants echoing, their torches flickering in the darkness. Hear the silence of the desert, broken only by the passage of time. The pyramids stand still, as they have for thousands of years, waiting, watching, remembering. The Great Pyramids of Giza are more than monuments. They are mysteries carved into stone, questions without final answers, guardians of eternity. Their stones hold the breath of the past, their silence invites reflection, and their presence reminds us that some wonders are meant not to be solved, but to be admired. On the wide plains of southern England, where the grass rolls like waves beneath a restless sky, stands one of the most iconic and enduring mysteries of the ancient world. This is Stonehenge, a vast circle of massive stones arranged in patterns whose meaning has been lost to time. For thousands of years, these stones have watched the sun rise and set, their shadows shifting across the earth, their silence speaking to the imagination of all who stand among them. Stonehenge was built in stages, beginning around 5,000 years ago. The earliest phase involved a simple circular earthwork, marked by ditches and banks. Later, enormous sarsen stones, each weighing up to 25 tons, were raised and placed in a great circle, with some topped by lintels to form trilithons, 2 vertical stones supporting a horizontal one. Smaller blue stones, brought from quarries in Wales, nearly 150 miles away, were also arranged in arcs and circles within the monument. The sheer effort required to move and raise these stones is staggering, even by today's standards. Without wheels, cranes, or modern machines, the builders relied on ropes, sledges, wooden rollers, and sheer determination. Yet the true mystery of Stonehenge lies not in how it was built, but why. For centuries, people have speculated about its purpose. Some see it as a temple to the sun, aligned with the solstices. Indeed, on the morning of the summer solstice, the sun rises directly over the heel stone, casting its light into the heart of the monument. On the winter solstice, the setting sun aligns with the central axis, bathing the stones in golden light. This alignment suggests that Stonehenge was, at least in part, an astronomical observatory, a place where the cycles of the heavens were marked and celebrated. Others believe Stonehenge was a place of burial and ancestor worship. Excavations have revealed cremated remains within the circle, suggesting that the monument was a sacred cemetery, perhaps thus spurred use. Stones were raised as guardians of the dead, linking the living to their ancestors, and the cycles of the sun to the cycle of life and death. There are also theories of healing. Some suggest that the blue stones, transported from distant Wales, were believed to possess magical or curative powers. People may have traveled great distances to Stonehenge, seeking health, renewal, or spiritual transformation. In this sense, the monument may have been a prehistoric sanctuary, a place where earth and sky met, and where body and soul could be restored. And of course, as with so many ancient mysteries, there are more imaginative explanations. Legends speak of giants carrying the stones, or of the wizard Merlin using magic to raise them. Others whisper of lost civilizations, advanced knowledge, or visitors from beyond the earth. While archaeologists lean toward more practical explanations, the very strangeness of Stonehenge leaves room for wonder and for dreams beyond the ordinary. Standing among the stones today, one feels a profound silence, broken only by the wind and the calls of birds. The stones themselves are weathered and worn, their surfaces scarred by time, yet they endure. Each one seems alive, radiating presence, as if it remembers the hands that raised it and the ceremonies that once filled the air. To touch them is to touch a story older than history, a riddle written in stone. Imagine the plains thousands of years ago. Fires burned in the darkness, drums echoed across the fields, and people gathered in circles, their chants rising to the sky. As the sun crept over the horizon, its rays fell perfectly between the stones, bathing the monument in light. For those who stood there, it must have felt as if the universe itself had joined their ritual, as if heaven and earth had aligned in harmony. The construction of Stonehenge stretched across generations. No single group of people saw it complete. Each added their part, contributing to a monument that grew in complexity and scale. This continuity reveals a deep commitment to shared belief, passed down through centuries. Whatever Stonehenge meant, it mattered so much that people returned again and again, shaping the landscape into a sacred place. In recent years, archaeologists have uncovered evidence of a wider ceremonial landscape around Stonehenge avenues, earthworks, and other monuments stretching for miles. It seems Stonehenge was not an isolated structure, but part of a vast network of ritual sites, a sacred geography etched into the land. This suggests that the stones were not just symbols, but nodes in a larger web of meaning, linking people, places, and the cosmos. And yet, for all our discoveries, Stonehenge refuses to give up its secrets. Its meaning remains ambiguous, open to interpretation, inviting us to imagine. Perhaps that is its true power, not to provide answers, but to awaken questions, to stir the human spirit with mystery. As you listen, let your mind drift to the open plains. Feel the wind across the grass, hear the silence between the stones, and see the sky stretching endlessly above. Picture the sun rising, its light touching the ancient circle, connecting you to those who once stood there in awe. The stones remain, patient and eternal, guardians of a mystery that transcends time. Stonehenge is not just a monument, it is a dialogue across the ages, a reminder that humanity has always sought meaning in the sky, in the earth, and in the spaces between. Its stones speak to us still, in silence, inviting us to dream, to wonder, and to rest in the mystery. High in the Andes, overlooking the ancient city of Cusco in Peru, lies a fortress that has long puzzled visitors with its sheer scale and mystery. This is Sacsayhuamán, a citadel of stone walls, so massive and so precise that they seem almost impossible to have been built by human hands. The walls are made of giant boulders, some weighing over 100 tons, fitted together with such accuracy that not even a blade of grass can slip between them. When you first see the stones of Sacsayhuamán, you cannot help but wonder how they were moved. They rise in massive terraces, zigzagging across the hillside, in patterns that resemble lightning bolts carved into the earth. Each stone is unique, cut with irregular angles, yet every one fits perfectly with its neighbors, forming walls that have stood for centuries without mortar. Earthquakes that have shaken Cusco again and again have toppled houses and churches, yet the stones of Sacsayhuamán remain solid, unmoved, as if they were part of the mountain itself. The Inca, who built the fortress in the 15th century, considered it both a defensive stronghold and a sacred place. Cusco was the capital of their empire, the heart of their world, and Sacsayhuamán was its crown. Chroniclers described it as a fortress, but it was also a temple, a place of ceremony and power. The walls formed part of a vast complex that included towers, plazas, and storage houses. Together, they symbolized the might of the Inca Empire and its connection to the gods. But the mystery lies in the details. How did the Inca, without iron tools or wheels, manage to cut, move, and fit stones so massive? Some blocks are as tall as a house, their surfaces polished to perfect smoothness, their edges shaped with astonishing precision. The logistics of moving such stones from quarries miles away, across hills and valleys, and then raising them into place, seem beyond imagination. Archaeologists suggest that thousands of workers used ropes, ramps, and stand levers, applying immense human effort over years. But even with such explanations, the achievement remains extraordinary. The craftsmanship is so advanced that it challenges our assumptions about what was possible with the tools available at the time. The walls also carry a sense of artistry. The stones are not simple rectangles, but complex polygons with multiple sides, cut to interlock in intricate patterns. This design not only created beauty, but also strength, making the walls resistant to earthquakes. It is as if the builders combined engineering and art into one seamless whole, turning raw rock into living architecture. Some believe the walls hold deeper symbolism. The zigzagging shapes may represent lightning, a sacred force in Inca cosmology, or the teeth of a great puma, an animal associated with power and the city of Cusco itself. From above, some scholars suggest the fortress and the city formed the shape of a puma, with Sacsayhuamán as its head. Whether this was intentional or not, the connection between earth, animals, and the cosmos was central to Inca thought, and the walls may have embodied these beliefs. Of course, such mystery has inspired more imaginative theories. Some propose that Sacsayhuamán was not built by the Inca at all, but by a much older, unknown civilization. Others whisper of lost technologies, forgotten knowledge, or even the help of beings beyond the earth, while archaeologists maintain that the Inca, through immense skill and labor, were the true builders. The sheer presence of the walls keeps alternative ideas alive. Standing at Sacsayhuamán today, you feel both wonder and humility. The stones rise around you like cliffs shaped by human hands, their surfaces warm in the sun, their shadows deep and cool. The silence of the Andes fills the air, broken only by the cries of birds and the whisper of the wind. Touching the stones, you sense their strength, their endurance, their mystery. They have stood for centuries, and will likely stand for centuries more. Imagine the scene 500 years ago, when the Inca ruled these lands. Warriors stood upon the walls, watching over the valley. Priests offered rituals to the gods of the sun, the moon, and the mountains. The people of Cusco gathered below, their lives bound to the fortress above them, and beyond it all, the Andes rose, eternal and unyielding, mirroring the strength of the stones themselves. Even after the fall of the Inca Empire, Sacsayhuamán continued to inspire awe. The Spanish, astonished by its scale, dismantled parts of it, using its stones to build churches and houses in Cusco. Yet the largest blocks were too immense to move, and so they remain, silent witnesses to both creation and destruction, survival and change. As you drift deeper into rest, picture yourself walking among the walls at dusk. The sky glows with the colors of sunset. The stones cast long shadows, and the air grows cool. You feel small beside the massive blocks, yet comforted by their permanence. They remind you that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, but to be experienced, to be felt in the heart rather than explained by the mind. The walls of Sacsayhuamán stand as guardians of history, puzzles of stone that defy time. They connect us to the ingenuity of the Inca, to the spirit of the Andes, and to the timeless human desire to build something that lasts beyond generations. They remain, as they have for centuries, silent, immovable, and eternal.